the manager came to me and he had like 4 cards with him, and it was like Sheffield United, Sheffield Wednesday, Leeds, Barnes. All these scouts were there watching me, and they were like, "Yo, we want to see this kid on trial." And when I went to Sheffield United, it was because of my size, they decided to make me through the year above. So it was like the likes of like Harry Maguire, Tom Kennedy, all them lot.
Introduce yourself, please.
So yes, people, Henoc Mukendi, ex-professional football player, played for Liverpool and Northampton and a couple other teams.
All right then, 2023, starting with a bang. Ken's on deck.
Yo.
Listen, quick fire questions.
Yeah.
What's your favourite colour?
Red.
Best place you've visited?
Oh, best place I visited, St. Vincent.
Death row meal?
Rice and chicken. Rice and chicken.
Typical Sunday.
Yeah, real.
Describe Andrew Tate in one word.
Joke, man.
Drink of choice, alcoholic and non-alcoholic?
Non-alcoholic, mango juice, alcoholic, rain F and pineapple.
All right then.
All
right then. Firewater. Suggest a show for the audience to watch.
Game of Thrones.
Favorite pastime?
Playing football professionally.
Nike or Adidas?
Nike.
Who got assassinated first, Malcolm X or Martin Luther King?
Malcolm X.
Highest Premier League goal scorer?
Ever. I should know this. Alan Shearer. Alan Shearer.
100-meter world record time?
9 seconds and 58. 9.58.
Most World Cups in order?
Brazil, Germany, France, or the other way around.
Most meaningful moment in your life?
When my daughter was born.
Who's going to win the league?
I hate to say it, but Arsenal.
Yeah. Quick fire questions, my guy. Love and light. Listen, like, share, and subscribe. We noticed that last year, I think it was, how many of our supporters? About 97.4 of you have subscribed, aren't watching the content. So we really needed to just support the thing, get behind the content. We've got a very special guest on today, and Tyke Kenj as well. Listen, shout out Pete at the Site Gallery for giving us this space today. Shout out Sarah and Bob for allowing us to have, a range of kits. And yeah, let's get to it, man. Well, go on, fam.
I'm good, fam. Anyway.
You're blessed. Listen, I'm blessed, man. I'm happy, man, because this conversation's been pending. You get me? You're saying, Kenz, man.
All right, man. Coach you, Henoc's on the pod. Real audience to be involved. Why not, man?
Yeah,
had a game cancelled as well today.
Trust me, I'd rather been kicking balls still, but this is a good replacement.
Yeah,
it's a big replacement, man. I'm happy.
Yeah, but give thanks again, obviously, the weather and the cancellations and the snow, but you made it, fam. Yeah, let's get to it. So I might be a bit narrow-minded when I say this, but all of us, I think we'd agree that it's every boy's dream to become a football player.
Oh, definitely.
When did that moment actually happen for you?
In terms of like signing the contract, or like when I realised I wanted to?
Yeah, like in terms of like the realisation.
So, I'd always played football growing up, even when I lived in Africa. And then obviously came to the UK when I was about 7 or 8, lived down the road in Park Hill. And it wasn't until I think I started high school, because that's when even though I went to high school, I was playing in the league, so it was a dead team. But then there was bare kids in my year that played for the academy, but I was a lot better than all of them. So I was thinking, wait, hold on, like maybe I could do something here, you know what I mean? So
there's a chance.
Yeah, there was like 2-3 kids in my year that would play for the academy, but I was like the school captain. I was a lot better than
levels.
Yeah, I was better than everyone else.
It's mad because you are one of, is it 4 siblings?
Well, now I got 4 brothers.
Okay.
So 5 brothers, but I got 2 sisters, also the 7 of us all together.
Okay,
yeah,
big
so
family.
Big family, yeah.
Describe that dynamic growing up. Like, was it competitive? Because Vinny's your older brother.
Yeah, so growing up, so at first it was me and 3 of my brothers, so it was 4 boys growing up, and it was just, because we're all like 18 months or 2 years apart, so like growing up in Sheffield, everyone just knew us 4 as the brothers. Wherever I'd go, you'd see my 3 brothers with me, so it was always like everywhere. And all of us played football, so when I was obviously growing up, my brother Vinny was playing at Barnsley. I was playing in the league and then signed with Chef U, and then one of my little brothers was at Sheffield as well. So it was always that, like football in the house, in the park, everywhere. And it was always competitive as well. So like I think there's like 5 years between 4 of us. So it's just, it used to go off in the house.
Did that elevate your game almost, knowing like, do you know what, he's a bit older, he's a bit younger, I've got to kind of be able to compete with these, man?
So for me, me and my older brother growing up, we had our friendship group were quite similar. So a lot of my friends growing up, apart from like my school friends, everyone else was older. So a lot of my friends were like 2-3 years older than me. So I was always playing football like in the areas like with them and stuff like that. That's probably what made me better than everyone else that was my age at the time. So I was always playing with my older brother, his friends, and everyone else. And then obviously with my little brothers, I was trying to teach them, like, look, you need to be as good as me. So you're better than everyone else your age. So so it was that,
It's mad because I didn't actually meet you in the flesh.
Yeah.
In passing, might have seen you in passing.
Yeah.
But back in the day, because I went to Aberdeen Grange, and there was Biz, you know, Elijah, Dreddy, Baller, Sam Cave. He was in my year. And he was quite tight with, I think, Vinny, and there was Aaron, and it was like, yo, come down to the cage on Sharon. These man are darking up the thing. But obviously I was here and there and everywhere. Obviously Sharrow's an area which is, it's kind of twofold, because it's got the affluent side, which is the more S11, and then it's got the kind of ends kind of stigma, as it's closer to town, Bottom Park Hill, etc., etc. Being a young man from the ends, essentially, what kind of like mentality did it take to, you know, stay disciplined? Because obviously there'd have been, you know,
crazy
things left, right, and centre going on. Yes, so like, how was that?
You know, that's a very good question, and that's something that no one's ever asked me on another podcast. So, growing up, obviously, you know what it's like. I'm someone that I try to learn from other people's mistakes. So, growing up in Sharrow, there was just stupid. Actually, we was young, teenage years, but there was mad levels of crime happening, crazy violence happening, seeing mad things. You know what I mean? So, looking at it, I used to always look at it and think, you know what, I don't want to be like that when I grow up. You know what I mean? So, football kind of took me away from that, if that makes sense. So after school, I'd play football, I'd play rugby, I'd do athletics, I used to play cricket. I like sports kind of, in a way, kept me away from that. Obviously, it wasn't 100% because things used to happen all the time, but playing football and playing sports kind of, that was like my focus to, because if I wasn't doing that, then I'd be on the estate,
be on the estate,
madness with my friends, you know what I mean? So I was smart enough at the time to think, you know what, let me take myself away from that as much as possible, you know what I mean? So obviously I'd finish school, stay behind after school club, football, whatever, but then obviously you'd go back home and you'd hear, this and that happened, this guy got beat up, this guy got robbed, this guy got stabbed or whatever, and you're thinking like, I'm kind of glad I'm not there, but then also there's been things where things have gone off and I've been there at 11, 12, 13 and I've seen it with my own eyes, you know what I mean? So I think it's the mentality. I just had to try and look beyond the area, you know what I mean? Because like I said, in the area, Sharrow itself, there's like a posh part, if you'd say so, you know what I mean, just up the road. And then there's the ends. So I don't know, I just try to like, obviously stay true to myself, but also try not to get influenced into badness, if that makes sense. I think I had to just try and stay mentally strong. So that was hard, but
I respect it, fam. I respect it, because a lot of us, as you know, we can. There's a lot of pressures, and it's very easy to get sidetracked, especially at that age, 11, 12. You wasn't really in academies such and such, but obviously still playing Sunday League football, enjoying it, obviously doing all your other sports. So I respect it, because obviously, as it's going to unfold, we're going to dive deep into how that kind of manifested for you. So obviously playing Sunday League football. Who was that for?
At the time, was a team called Walthioff Juniors.
Walthioff,
I don't know if they're still running, but played for them for a bit. And then went to high school, and a couple of my friends played for Junior Blades.
Okay.
So there was like, in the top divisions, Walthioff was in the bottom, but when I went to school, I was better than everyone else. So then my friends were like, no, come play with us. Okay. And so I thought I was going to have to go on trial. And then their manager came to watch us in the school game, and he was just like, we're signing you straight away. And then at the time, I used to play centre-back for Walthioff because everyone else wanted to be a striker. But for me, I just wanted to play ball, you know what I mean? Yeah. And then when I went to Walthioff, to Junior Blades, I was just like miles ahead of everyone, you know what I mean? And I was just scoring goals left, right, and centre. And then the manager was like, you know what, you're going to play centre mid or centre forward. And that year, I think I scored like 30, 40 goals
Oh,
for them
ridiculous.
that season.
Ridiculous.
We played in tournaments, so like this is another gem actually. I had a kid ask me the other day, like, what's the best way to get signed for like an academies? I said like, play for a Sunday League team and play in tournaments. Because when you're playing in these tournaments and you're showing the levels, there's bare scouts watching, you never know. So I just thought we just go to a random tournament. We lost that tournament in the final, like I think it was like 4-3 or something. But I go on like top goal scorer. Like,
play with the tournament.
All that kind of stuff. I remember at the end, the manager came to me and he had like 4 cards with him, and it was like Sheffield United, Sheffield Wednesday, Leeds, Barnes. All these scouts were there watching me. And they were like, "Yo, we want to see this kid on trial," because I was just like levels above everyone else. So that happened when I was at Junior Blades. So then I remember I went on trial to Sheffield and Sheffield United. And when I went to Sheffield United, it was because of my size, they decided to make me train the year above. So it was like the likes of like Harry Maguire, Tom Kennedy, all them lot.
Connor Brown was there.
So he was
around
2 years above. So he was my brother's
okay,
year. Yeah, but I've known Connor because I went to school with him.
Okay.
But yeah, so when I went down there, impressed. Like I played a year up, but impressed. I was doing really well. I went into the centre mid as well. I remember Harry Maguire was centre mid as well back then, so it was just
the
crazy.
fridge.
So he was in centre mid back then. But yeah, I remember just going there, really, really impressing. And then I put pen to paper on a 2-year deal from like they took me from like for the next year for under 14s to 16. But then so I put pen to paper on that. But then literally within a month, my mum got married to my stepdad, and then my family moved from from Sheffield to Manchester. And then I remember when I first found out, I was fuming, like I was raging. I think I've been working hard to get signed by an academy, and then now all of a sudden we're moving cities. Like what's going on? You know what I mean? So yeah, it was a bit like I remember I was heartbroken at the time, but obviously it turned out for the best in the end. Yeah.
So that just seems quite just like a very quick trajectory from being a lad who just wants to play the sport. He's not really too bothered about positioning. He just wants to play. Your scary ability. You start to play different positions. Yeah. And that's how you got like scouted essentially to play for United. Yeah. But then you moved to Manchester.
Yeah, within like 3-4 weeks. Yeah,
so how was that relocating? Obviously coming from Congo in like early 2000s.
Yeah, so the relocation thing, that's been like a story throughout my whole life. I was speaking to someone the other day, and since a kid, I've moved. So I count relocation as if you live somewhere for more than 6 months.
Okay.
So I've relocated since I was born 19 times.
Wow.
Different houses, different places, different areas and things like that. So like, even in Sheffield, when I first came here, lived in Park Hill for like 2-3 years, lived in Sharrow for 2 years. Like Manchester, lived in like 4 different areas. So it was just like I'm just used to always like relocating. It's only in the last couple of years now I'm like based somewhere. I find it weird, you know what I mean? Like always staying in one place. But yeah, like it was a bit of a culture shock, that one, because where we lived in Manchester was like on the outskirts towards Wigan.
Okay.
And then so I've gone from living like on an estate that's multicultural. There's black people, Asian people, Somalis, white people. Everyone was like living as one.
Almost like Sheffield in a sense. It just makes it's very diverse.
So I've come from Sheffield, like, but then with the area that we moved in, we were the only black family in the whole area. And so I've gone from living like in an estate, like in a block, into living on like a normal estate as well, with a garden and all that kind of stuff. So it's a bit of a culture shock. Because then when I've gone into school, I was the only black kid in my class. You know what I mean? There was 2 of us in the year, but I was the only black kid in my class. So I was like at 13, 14 trying to figure that out. Like obviously certain people are gonna try and test you in a certain way, and I was always one of them, like I'm calm, but I don't like people like testing me in a way. That was a culture shock as well. So it was a bit of I don't know, it was hard. That one was quite hard, to be fair. But I think having my brothers, we all went to, when that happened, we all went to the same high school.
Okay.
So it's 4 like big black
guys. Yeah.
Oh,
don't mess me up.
So that was the thing. Like, luckily, I feel like if it was just one of us or 2 of us in there, we may have had a harder time. But when it was 4 of us in there,
it's firm.
Like we kind of like just took over the school within like a whole month, and also the fact that we was all good at football as well. It was just like everyone was just like,
man. Yeah, that's wild, because again, that whole relocating 19 times, that's mad. Yeah, 19 times, because they say like in your early years, having consistency, whether within the household or in your education or in your peer groups. It's important for that kind of like security. And he did have that within the home and brothers and stuff. But again, just being up and down the UK, it's
mad. Even
it's
like
mad.
high schools, I went to 3 different high schools. You know what I mean? I went to one in Sheffield, one in Manchester, and one in Liverpool. So you know what I mean? So it's like 3 different accents, cultures, ways of life. So it was just.
And that's in 5 years as well.
In 5 years,
So that just shows how fast the turnovers are. You'd be like, you're doing 1 year, 2 years at one school, and then boom.
Literally.
Even like settling, you finding friends and straight away you're just moving again. So
and that's why now when I'm older, people always say to me like, "Oh, you know everyone, or you know a lot of people." I'm like, because I've lived in
you've been about
crazy places. You know what I mean? So so it's just one of them where you know what, it sounds weird, but I kind of enjoy it. Like always, like living in different places. It's always something new.
Tourism.
Literally, like I feel like a tourist everywhere I go. So I love it, low key.
So when you was down in Manchester, where you were still obviously Sheffield United Academy.
Yeah, so I was trying to like find ways to come back, train, this, that, the other. But
it must be
at
mad.
the time there was rule, like basically like laws in place that I'd have to be like living there, like within a certain miles or something.
Radius.
So I was obviously trying to speak to my auntie saying, "Can I come back and live?" But my mum was like, "No," and all that kind of stuff. And then at the time, my stepdad decided, he's like, "Look, do you know what? Obviously you're clearly good at football. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try and get you trials at like local Manchester clubs."
Sick.
So we went to train. Me and my brother at the time trialed with Bolton at the time, and then they really liked me, so they wanted to sign me. But then because I had the contract with Sheffield United, I had to like cancel that, and then that took a whole process.
Politics.
And then by that time, I was playing for our manager at the time at Bolton, because I couldn't play because I wasn't signed on. I couldn't play the league games. He knew someone that was a Wigan school, like, do you know, like how you have like chef boys? So, like
School of Excellence.
Yeah, School of Excellence. So they had like Wigan School of Excellence. So they just said, "Look, in the meantime, I'm also working to get you signed at Bolton. Why don't you go and play for them? Because they're good level. Instead of playing Sunday League, play for them." A lot of like lads that are in and out academies. And then I've gone there, and then so they already had like a striker, a centre back, centre mid. And the only position they had was a left winger to be filled in. I was obviously left footed. I was
left
quick.
peg.
I was skillful, you know, and so I've gone in as a left winger, and I think within like 3 months I scored like 20 something goals
on the left wing.
And the left wing, I was just killing it, ripping it up. And then what ended up happening was, so when I played at Wigan, so I remember Man City came in, Everton, Blackburn, Man United didn't come in. I probably wanted like Man United to come in at the time, and I wanted Liverpool to come in at the time. So them two didn't at first. So I remember I went on trial at City, but then because of my size again, Man City seen me, and I think I was 13, 14 at the time. They've put me on trial with the under 16s. So when I've gone there, even though I'm tall, I was quite skinny.
It's quite lean.
When I've gone in with the 16s, they're like built, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or stronger than I was. So I've gone there. I didn't really perform as good as I'd have liked to, but I still thought, you know, I'll give it a good go, because a lot of the City lads at the time were like England internationals and things like that.
And they're 3 years old, didn't you?
So, I mean, teched up youths as well.
They had some serious players at the time. I remember it was like Kieran Trippier was there. He was the captain. Reece Robaro was there. John Guidetti was there. So they had some serious players. And then I thought, you know, I went there and I done all right, considering I didn't look at a place, but I just knew I wasn't going to get signed, because these are, you can tell they were better than me, you know what I mean? And then after that, I've gone back to the schoolboys. As I'm playing, the manager came to me and was like, "Oh, there's a Liverpool scout that's been on your case and been watching you for the last 6 weeks." And these times I'm like,
gassed.
Thank God.
And then
Thank God.
a little backstory to that. So that's the one that I really, really wanted more than anything. Because when I lived in Sheffield, we did a tour of Liverpool. Because our old school coach, our PE coach, was from like Liverpool Warrington ways. So we visited the academy when I was still living in Sheff. And I remember we went to the academy. I was thinking, this is the coldest place I've ever been to. Like, it was sick. And so they had like all these pictures. They're showing this changing rooms where you eat. And then they were just telling us, like, basically, like, the youth team, they just train every single day. And you know what I mean? I'm thinking, imagine
play football every single day?
Every single day, and then you're eating, and then you're doing college for 2 hours. And I was thinking, that's the life I want to live.
That's the dream, right?
So in my head, I remember, like, when I went back to school to Chef Park, I remember all I kept talking about was like, yo, one day I want to sign for Liverpool. I want to play at that academy. And I was saying this 2 years before I signed. So I remember this is like, it's so cold because there's a girl it was in my year at the time called Charlotte Feasy, and she used to always say to me, "What are you talking about? You're never gonna sign for Liverpool. You never play for Sheffield United. How are you gonna sign for Liverpool?" And then she used to say to me all the time. So obviously I remember when I got the trial at Liverpool and ended up signing. I'll talk about that in a sec. But she hit me up, and then I remember B-boy days. She wrote on my B-boy, and she was like, "Oh,
bare hearts.
I guess I was wrong." You know what I mean?
Bare hearts. I'll send you a love.
Literally. So we always laugh about that to this day because it's weird. I remember just always saying like, I want to sign for Liverpool, and then obviously moved to Manchester. So I ended up getting the trial there, and then the guy came to me, Roy Baldwin, who was a scout, and he was like, "Look, I've been watching you. You're a big guy. You're very raw. Like you're not. You can tell I wasn't like
polished.
I wasn't polished. You know what I mean? Because I like that. You know what I mean? You just get the ball. Your first thought is to attack. You know what I mean? I was just very positive. Everything. He goes, "Look, I want to take you on trial to Liverpool. You're gonna go there for 6 weeks. Just everything that you do here, go do there. You know what I mean? Don't feel any pressure or whatever." And then I remember like the first day. So obviously when I went there with school, it was in the day. So I remember at night going there. It was this. Obviously when you come there, it's like these big lights. And then you go down this thing and it just says like the academy with the
LFC,
logo,
everything.
And literally, and then all you see is these little kids. Because I went there, I was just in a plain tracksuit. And then you just see all these little kids with like the big bags with the Liverpool tracksuits with the initials on it. And I was just, I remember just walking, just goosebumps, thinking, I want this to be me, you know what I mean? I want to be there with the tracksuits, with the big bag, everything. So I remember like first day I went there, trained. I thought, you know what, let me just like take my time with it. And then the minute that I seen the levels, I thought, you know, okay, after that first day, I was like, I knew exactly what I needed to do to kind of get signed. And then with being on trial with them, because I had to like sign like trialist forms and all that kind of stuff, so they allowed me to play games. And then, so remember when I told you about that we played against Man City? So I trained at Man City and they didn't sign me.
Yeah.
So first game for Liverpool was against Blackburn, scored in that. Second game was at home against Man City. On the under 14s, that's on my actual age group, the ones I didn't get to train with.
Smashed it.
The manager who didn't sign me said to me, basically said to me I wasn't good enough to do that. I said, well, like, I was training with the
under 16s anyway.
Under 16s. So we played against them now for the 14s, and he was on the sideline watching, and we beat them 2-0, and I scored 2. And I was a trialist at the time. And this was my second week. And then the guy came to me and he looked at me and he was like, "Oh, I remember you." And then when that happened,
of course you did. Of course you did.
So when that happened,
You see me last week, mate.
it was cold because I remember I told our manager at the time, Robbie, at Liverpool, I told him, like my man, that basically didn't want me because they put me with the 16s. So when the manager for City came over to me and was like, "I remember you," and then my manager Robbie comes over, "Yeah, you put him with the 16s. Look at him now scoring 2 against you." I was laughing. I was thinking, this guy's cold. So it was sick. So then after that was like the second week. The third week, I think we played. I can't remember. We played someone. I think it might be like Wolves or someone who dresses like, I think Wolves or Hull.
Yeah, in like the orange strip.
Yeah, the orange strip. And then so we come in. I think we beat them. And then the fourth week was Man United.